Hello students, welcome to my session. In the previous two video recordings, we discussed about our writer, short story writer, William O. Henry. And then in the next video, we discussed the summary theme of the short story, The Last Leaf. Today, we discuss about the full short story. Dear students, kindly take your notes and take your books. If things are not available, at least a PDF file you might have available with. Take it and just follow it. Whenever you feel is a necessary point, a necessary word, a necessary thing, I need to learn necessary things, kindly note it down. The Last Leaf. Here I am reading. I'll not stop in between. Kindly follow it. In a small part of the city, west of Washington Square, the streets have gone wild. They turn in different directions. They're broken into small pieces called places. One street goes across itself one or two times. A painter once discovered something possible and valuable about his street. Suppose a painter had some painting materials for which he had not paid. Suppose he had no money. Suppose a man came to get the money. The man might walk down that street and suddenly met himself coming back without having received a cent. This part of the city is called Greenwich Village. And to old Greenwich Village the painter soon came. Here they found rooms they like, with good light and at low cost. Dear students, the very first page you may not understand, but at the end you will understand what is the meaning of writing something in the first page. That is a twist of William O. Henry's writing style. Okay, now the real story is starting. Two friends, Sue and John C., lived at the top of a building with 3 floors. One of these young women came from Maine, the other from California. They had met at the restaurant in 8th Street. There they discovered that they liked the same kind of art, the same kind of food, the same kind of clothes. So they decided to live and work together. That was in the spring. Toward winter, a cold stranger entered Greenwich Village and no one could see him. He walked around touching one person here and another there with his icy fingers. He was a bad sickness. Doctor called him pneumonia. Here, the writer would want to give personification, figure of speech. On the east side of the city, he hurried, touching many people. But in the narrow streets of Greenwich Village, he did not move so quickly. Mr. Pneumonia was not a nice old gentleman. A nice old gentleman would not hurt a weak little woman from California. But Mr. Pneumonia touched on John C. with his cold fingers. She lay on her bed, almost without moving, and she looked through the window at the wall of the house next to hers. One morning, the busy doctor spoke to Sue alone in the hall, where John C. could not hear. She was a very small chance, he said. She has a chance if she wants to leave. If people don't want to leave, I can't do much for them. Your little lady has decided that she is not going to get well soon. Is there anything that is troubling her? She's always wanted to go to Italy and paint a picture of the Bay of Naples, said Sue. Paint? Not paint. Is there anything worth being troubling her about? A man? Sue said, a man? Is a man worth? No, doctor. There is not a man. It is vagueness, the doctor said. I'll do all I know how to do, but when a sick person begins to feel that he is going to die, half of my work is useless. Talk to her about new winter clothes. If she were interested in the future, her chances would be better to leave. After the doctor had gone, Sue went into workroom to cry. Then she walked into John's room. She carried some of her painting materials and she was singing. Johnsy lay there, very thin and very quiet. Her face was turned toward the window. She stopped singing, thinking that Johnsy would asleep. She began to work. As she worked, she heard a low sound again and again and again. She went quickly to the bedside. Johnsy's eyes were open wide. She was looking at the window and counting forward, counting backward, like 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7. Almost she was going in the flow. In between, she looked out the window. What was there to count? There was only the side wall of the next house. A short distance away, the wall had no window. An old tree grew against the wall. The cold breath of winter had already touched it. Almost all its leaves had fallen from its dark branches. "What is it, dear?" Sue asked. And Johnsy continued, 6, with voice still lower. "They're falling fast now. 3 days ago there were almost 100 leaves. It hurt my head to count them, but now it's easy. There goes another one. There are only 5 now." "5 what, dear?" "Tell you, Sue." "Leaves on the tree. When the last one falls, I must go. I must die too. I have known that for 3 days. Didn't the doctor tell you?" "Oh, I never heard of such thing. It doesn't have any sense in it. What does an old tree have to do with you? Or with yours getting well? And you used to love the trees so much. Don't be a little fool. The doctor told me your chances for getting well is high. He told me this morning. He said you had very good chances. Try to eat a little now. And then I'll go back to work. And then I can sell my pictures. And then I can buy something more for you to eat to make you strong, better, and get well." "You don't have to buy anything for me." "There goes another. No, I don't want anything to eat. Now there are 4. I want to see the last leaf fall down before night. Then I will die too." "Johnsy dear, will you promise me to close your eyes and keep them closed? Will you promise not to look out the window until I finish work? I must have this picture tomorrow. I need the light. I can't cover the window," said Sue. "Couldn't you work in the other room?" Johnsy said coldly. "I would rather be here by you, and I don't want you to look at those leaves," said Sue. "Tell me soon, as you have finished," said Johnsy. She closed her eyes and lay white and still. White and still is a proverb. Please go with it. "Because I want to see the last leaf fall. I have done enough waiting. I have done enough thinking. I want to go sailing down, down, like one of those leaves." "Try to sleep," said Sue. "I must call Brahim to come up here. I want to paint a man in this picture, and I will make him look like Bearman. I won't be gone a minute. Don't try to move till I come back." Old Brahman was a painter who lived on the first floor of their house. He was past 60. He had had no success as a painter in his life. For 40 years he had painted without ever painting a good picture. He had always talked of painting great pictures, masterpieces, but he had never started it. He got little money by letting others painting pictures of him. He drank too much. He still talked of his great masterpieces. And he believed that it was his special duty to do everything possible to help Sue and Johnsy since they were painters. Sue found him in his dark room and she knew that he had been drinking. She could smell it. She told him about Johnsy's and the leaves on the wine tree. She said that he was afraid that Johnsy would indeed sail down, down like the leaf. Her hold on the word was growing weaker. Old Herman shouted his anger over such an idea. What? Are there such fools? Do people die because leaves drop off a tree? I have not heard of such thing. No, I will not come up and sit while you make a picture of me. Why do you allow her to think such a thing? That poor little Johnson. She's very sick and weak. The sickness has put these strange ideas into her mind. Mr. Behrman, if you won't come, you won't. But I don't think you're a very nice person. This is like a woman, shouted this old man. Who said I did not come? Go, I come with you. For half an hour, I've been trying to say that I will come. God! There is not any place for someone so good as Johnson's to lay sick. Some day I shall paint my masterpiece and I shall go away from here. God! Yes. Johnsy was sleeping when they went up. Sue covered the window and took Behrman into the other room. They looked out the window fearfully at the tree. Then they looked at each other for a moment without speaking. A cold rain was falling, and with a little snow in it too. Behrman sat down, and Sue began to paint. She worked through most of the night. In this morning, after an hour's sleep, she went to Johnsy's bedside. Johnsy, with wide open eyes, was looking toward the window. I want to see, she told Sue. Sue took the cover from the window. But after the beating rain and wild wind that had not stopped through the whole night, there still was one leaf to be seen against the wall. It was the last one on the tree. It was still dark green near the branch, but the edge it was turning yellow with age. There it was hanging from a branch nearly 20 feet above the ground. It is the last one. I thought it would surely fall during the night. I heard the wind. It will fall today, and I shall die at the same time. Oh dear, think of me. If you won't think of yourself, what would I do? Said Sue. But Johnsy did not answer. The most lonely thing in the world is a soul when it is preparing to go on its far journey. The ties that held her to friendship and the earth were breaking only by one. The days slowly passed. As it grew dark, they could still see the leaf hanging from the tree against the wall. And then, as the night came, the north wind began again to blow, the rain still beating against the wall and window. When it was light enough to next morning, Johnsy again commanded that she be allowed to see. The leaf was still there. Johnsy lay for a long time looking at it. But at the end, you know what happened? At the end, I have something to tell you. Mr. Behrman died of pneumonia today in the hospital. He was ill only 2 days. Someone found him on the morning of the first day in his room. He was helpless. And then they found something. There was a light that he had taken outside, and there were his master materials for painting. There was paint, green paint and yellow paint. Look out the window, dear. At the last leaf on the wall. Didn't you wonder why it never moved when the wind was blowing? Oh, my dear, it was Behrman's masterpiece. He painted it there the night